The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somali is and where Somalis are and what Somali stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, it's a troubling, Somalia is one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial.
That any attempt to undermine Somalia's territorial integrity runs counter to the fundamental principles of the African Union and risks setting a dangerous precedent with far-reaching implications for peace and stability across the African continent. Mr. President, the actions of the State of Israel as the only state to recognize the illegal secession of a part of Somalia's territory must be condemned as a violation of the UN Charter and international law.
Yes, here we are. That's the representative of South Africa at the United Nations joining Somalia to condemn Israel's decision to recognize Somaliland. But there was a hot debate at the UN Security Council where Somalia's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Abubakar Bale, delivered a powerful statement before the United Nations Security Council, firmly confronting the recent decision by the government of Israel to recognize Somaliland. So let me take you direct to the statement delivered by Ambassador Abubakar Bale of Somalia at the UN. You'll be shocked.
Thank you, Mr. President, for giving me again the floor. Before proceeding further, I want to make additional remarks in my capacity as a Somali representative of Somalia to directly address the claims made by the representative of Israel who spoke before me. I will make 3 points, Excellency. First, actions of occupying power in Palestine and indeed in the broader region are well documented. These actions constitute clear violations of international law. What we see today and time again are acts to terrorize civilian populations and crimes against humanity and force displacement of a whole community, starvation of innocent people, and killing and maiming hundreds of thousands. And someone doing all these things are lecturing us today what they call genocide and things like that. I'm shocked to listen to the outrageous comments from the Israeli representative. If we want to talk about genocide, it's Israel that's committing on our own eyes every day. He represents a government that killed more than 70,000 people, civilians, including children, women, elderly, doctors, and other health workers, and patients in hospitals, destroying infrastructures, deliberately starving people of Gaza. To come before us, esteemed council, and accuse Somalia of committing genocide is just ridiculous and it's unbelievable. The other thing that I want to add is he has no idea what Somali is and where Somalis are and what Somali stands for. I think the history is a selective history that he has just generated on his own mind. Let me give you some lessons on this. There is a systematic, it's a troubling, Somalia is one country, one people, one religion that fought together for independence from the colonial. And Somalia is again one that's fighting terrorist organizations in the Horn of Africa as a one group, one religion, one ethnic group. And then when you say the Somaliland, that was a British Somaliland. It was two regions, the Northeast region and Northwest region. And now Northeast region is part of which is 45% of the land and the population are part of the federal government of Somalia. What we're talking about is Northwest, which is also having a problem. Half of Northwest is now all the region, which is close to the Djibouti border. And they are totally against what the Isaq people that you say, Isaq genocide. And there was no such genocide in Somalia that took place. Somalia had a civil war, and the civil war has its own effects. And we believe the civil war was also financed from outside. So to come to this place and lecture us humanity and genocide and human rights and independence and democracy, and we know what you're doing on a daily basis, is just an insult. And I cannot take it without responding to this. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Somalia for the statement. I now give.
Yes, welcome back. That is Ambassador Abubakar Bale of Somalia lecturing Israel government after recognizing Somaliland. But Israel also, through its representative, they are not quiet. They have replied. Let us now move to what Israel has replied. You'll be shocked also. Why Israel is concerning on Somaliland, the Horn of Africa. All in all, they want to divide Africa, and also they want to have access to the Red Sea in the Horn of Africa. So here is what the representative of Israel has said. Let us listen.
Gary for his briefing here this afternoon. I wish to make it clear, Israel's engagement with Somaliland has a long and consistent record. In 1960, when Somaliland emerged as an independent state, Israel was among 35 countries that formally recognized its independence. In the late 1980s, under the regime of Siad Barre, Somaliland's civilian population was subjected to mass atrocities. Entire cities were destroyed, civilians were deliberately targeted. These crimes are now widely recognized as the Isaq genocide. At the time, Israel was the only country to formally raise these atrocities in this very council. On May 2nd, 1990, Israel's then acting permanent representative, Yochanan Bain, submitted this letter to this very council, warning of grave human rights violations in Somalia, including the destruction of Hargeisa and the targeting of civilians. This document forms part of the official record of the Security Council. That record underscores the consistency of Israel's engagement, grounded in concern for human rights, accountability, and legal principles. That history provides essential context for the discussion surrounding Israel's recognition of Somaliland today. Let me be clear, Israel's recognition of Somaliland is neither provocative nor novel. It is a lawful, principled acknowledgement of a long-established reality, consistent with international law and aligned with the values that this council is meant to uphold. Mr. President, Somaliland's modern political history is clear and well documented. On June 26, 1960, the former British Somaliland Protectorate attained independence as the state of Somaliland. In the days that followed, prior to its voluntary union with the Trust Territory of Somalia on July 1, 1960, Somaliland was recognized by 35 states, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, the Soviet Union, and Israel. Somaliland entered that union as a recognized sovereign entity, exercising its right to self-determination. That union failed to produce a durable or fully ratified constitutional settlement. Political marginalization, repression, and mass violence followed. When the Somali central government collapsed, Somaliland reasserted its sovereignty in May 1991. For more than 3 decades since, it has existed entirely outside the authority of Mogadishu. Since 1991, Somaliland has consistently met the objective criteria for statehood under customary international law, as reflected in the Montevideo Convention. 1, it has a permanent population. 2, a defined territory. 3, an effective government. 4, the capacity to conduct foreign relations. In fact, Somaliland has held regular competitive elections, ensured peaceful transfers of power, and maintained effective governance and security throughout its territory. In a region marked by instability, Somaliland has demonstrated continuity, responsibility, and restraint. Moreover, Somaliland's engagement with the international community is already sustained and practical. Several states maintain representative, liaison, or economic offices in Hargeisa. These relationships reflect ongoing diplomatic, economic, and development cooperation. They also reflect an acknowledgement in practice of Somaliland's capacity to govern responsibly. Israel's recognition builds on this reality. This step was taken as an exercise of sovereign authority, consistent with international law and long-standing diplomatic practice. It is not a hostile step towards Somalia, nor does it preclude future dialogue between the parties. Recognition is not an act of defiance. It is an opportunity to promote clarity, an opportunity to encourage responsibility, an opportunity to strengthen stability in the Horn of Africa. This recognition is forward-looking. It aligns with the spirit of the Abraham Accords: cooperation over isolation, pragmatism over paralysis, and partnership over perpetual conflict. Somaliland has demonstrated a willingness to govern responsibly, to secure itself, and to engage constructively with regional and international partners. This trajectory is also not without precedent. In the case of South Sudan, early engagement by individual states, including Israel, preceded broader international recognition and supported international integration and stability. Reality was acknowledged first. Consensus followed. Mr. President, the question raised by Israel's recognition of Somaliland is not whether international law permits acknowledgement of long-established facts. It does. The question is whether this council is ready to engage with reality as it exists. Somaliland's historical sovereignty, more than 3 decades of effective self-governance, and demonstrated capacity to act as a responsible international partner meet the legal criteria that guide recognition. Israel has aligned its foreign policy with this reality. This approach reflects the spirit of the Abraham Accords. It is grounded in international law and directed towards greater stability and security in the region. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Israel for the statement. The representative of Somalia has asked for the floor to make further statement. I give him the floor.
Yes, those are statements delivered by representative of Israel at the United Nations. You know, have tried to understand why Israel decided to do all these things and contradicting the entire continent of Africa. It's because the US is backing Israel. The US statement at the United Nations Security Council has clearly demonstrated strong diplomatic support for Somaliland and backing up Israel. So we know very well that these powerful nations are competing to own the Horn of Africa, where there is a Red Sea, and it is like a gateway for these ships, big ships, and for business to cross from other parts of the world to Europe and Arab countries. So these countries now they use Israel. Of course, America and Israel are best friends, are like twins. So if Israel will succeed maybe to have access to the Red Sea, to work with Somaliland, automatically America will also benefit. So that's why the statement also of United States of America at the UN Security Council clearly demonstrated strong diplomatic support for Somaliland. So in the near future, US will recognize Somaliland, and these other nations, these powerful nations, will recognize Somaliland. What we need to do as Africans is to come together, is to unite. And if we don't unite, if we don't come together, and if we think by releasing statements condemning will change anything, brothers and sisters, we are not going to achieve anything. Look, today we are still asking for the permanent seat in the UN Security Council. But America, still a member of UN Security Council, can neutralize our claim and our statements within seconds. So we are speaking at the UN Security Council, but America has a veto power, can neutralize everything. Russia has a veto power, can neutralize everything. So if Russia, China can say, okay, let us support Somaliland, support African Union with Somalia, but America itself as a single member of the UN Security Council can neutralize all those votes. So what does this mean? We Africans, we need to come together. We need to unite. We need to speak with one voice. So South Africa also have seen joining Somalia to condemn Israel, and also some said South Africa will take Israel to the ICJ for recognizing Somaliland. But all those things will not change anything. Look what has happened in the Middle East. Have you seen anything changing? So I think the only salvation and the only solution for we Africans is to come together. If we don't come together, we'll continue to lament, we'll continue to speak, we'll come and say this and that, but nothing will change. The only solution is for our unity. This is Black Winter, and the Black Winter is happening right now in our mother continent, Africa, after Israel decisions breaking Africa into parts. As I said yesterday, there are some African countries that are supporting Israel, that are best friend of Israel. We have some African countries that are best friend with America. So don't expect that the entire continent of 54 countries, all of them will have a single voice. We have some of them who will work with Israel, some of them who will support America. So I think those who are ready, they have to unite. They have to form their own organization. The way we saw in Sahel. So if maybe East Africa condemning Israel and the American decision, let us come together, unite as East Africa. Not with these political issues that we have right now. Let us unite, having our own army, having our own currency, trade among ourselves. So, you know, sometimes we have friends in politics, but when it comes to business, to economy, to security, we are not best friends. So we have to change. So family, let us not speak for too long. That is what happened in the UN Security Council after live confrontation between Israel, South Africa, as well as Somalia, after Israel's decision to recognize Somaliland as a sovereignty and free nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Africa, Mama Africa. Oh, yeah. You make African great. Thank you, freedom. Thank you, Africa.